Have you ever noticed how a bank balance can feel allergic to staying full? Like it sneezes every time it gets near 4 digits? I have been there, and what I learned is simple. Most of the chaos is not because we are bad with money. It is because we do not have enough buffer to stay calm when something goes sideways. That is where the $20,000 rule comes in. The idea is not a law or a rigid formula. It is a milestone. Once at least $20,000 sits in truly liquid form, the daily money story changes. Liquid means cash or cash-like, not locked up. Not volatile. Available within days with no penalty. Think high-yield savings or a money market account. At that level, emergencies stop becoming budget-ending events. Decisions get less desperate, and wealth building becomes less about hope and more about process. I like this rule because it is both realistic and demanding. It asks us to anchor our finances to a number that covers roughly 3 to 6 months. It also forces clarity. If essentials cost $3,500 a month, $20,000 is about 6 months of sleep-at-night money. If essentials are closer to $5,000, then $20,000 is a strong start, and $30,000 may be the real target. The number flexes by city, family size, and job stability, but the logic holds. Without a cash base, every hick-ants gets. With one, the world opens up. Here is the promise I am making for the next few minutes. I will lay out why $20,000 is such a turning point, how to reach it without living like a monk, and what to do the day after the milestone lands. I will show the basic math, a couple of quick case studies, a same income, different city comparison, and a way to keep the number growing. I will also keep the tone light, because money can be tense enough without me adding a forehead vein. If this kind of breakdown helps, consider tapping like, subscribing, and dropping a comment with the dollar amount that would make things feel calm. I read those, and they shape what I tackle next. Most people are not chasing yachts. The real desire is smaller and smarter. Calm bills, flexible choices, and the power to pass on sketchy offers. The $20,000 rule delivers that because it converts time into money and money back into time. Here is what I mean. An emergency fund is a pool of cash reserved for genuine surprises, not routine spending. When it equals a few months of essentials, it buys time to make better decisions. If rent, groceries, basic utilities, transport, insurance, and minimum debt payments total $3,300 a month, if essentials are $4,000, it covers 5 months. If they are $5,500, it covers about 3.5 months. That timeline is practical power. It means a job loss is a pivot, not a panic. It means a medical bill is a payment plan, not a spiral. It also means the next dollar can be aimed at growth, not cleanup. The second thing we want is options. Options look like taking a better job that pays more long-term, even if it pays slightly less for the first few months. Options look like moving to a neighborhood that cuts commute time or childcare costs. Options look like holding investments through volatility instead of selling at the worst moment. The third thing is confidence. Confidence does not mean bravado. It is just a quiet, data-backed calm that says, I can cover life while I fix life. A smaller side here. Confidence is wonderfully boring. The drama of bouncing payments is overrated. In practice, a $20,000 cushion reduces the need to time markets, outsmart headlines, or accept high-interest offers. It creates space to use plain, proven moves, save on autopilot, invest low-cost, and avoid fees and debt traps. The milestone does not solve everything, but it makes almost everything easier. If the destination is so clear, what keeps balances thin? Friction. Lifestyle inflation turns one-time upgrades into a permanent baseline. Social comparison makes yesterday's normal feel inadequate the second a friend upgrades. The hedonic treadmill is the human tendency to adapt fast, so the goalpost moves as soon as we score. Add fees, messy billing cycles, and hot tips disguised as advice, and the system leans against saving. Let us put real numbers on it. Picture a household with $5,000 take-home per month. Now stack the usual costs quickly and honestly. Housing eats $1,800. Insurance across health, auto, and renters or homeowners runs $350. Loans pull $400 between a car and a small student payment. Childcare or after-school programs easily hit $800. Transport, including gas, parking, and maintenance, takes $300. Groceries land around $500. Utilities and internet add $220. Phone plans clock in at $70. Dining and small funds sneak $250. We are at $460 of outlays, like $100 irregulars. That leaves $310 in a month with no surprises. One cracked tooth and the plan is toast. Here is the part most people miss. Without a pre-built cushion, the budget must be perfect, and life never cooperates. That is why high-interest debt shows up so often. The credit card becomes the shock absorber, but the interest turns a $600 emergency into a $900 saga. Then confidence falls, which slows saving, which keeps the cycle alive. I am not judging here, just naming the physics. The fix is not to gut every joy. The fix is to lower fixed costs where possible, capture income boosts, and automate the gap before it gets spent. With a clear target like $20,000, the game switches from vague hope to a scoreboard. The 20,000 rule is a simple mechanism with 3 moving parts. First, define essentials cleanly so the target is real. Essentials mean the minimum monthly spend to keep life stable, including rental mortgage, basic food, utilities, insurance, transport, and minimum debt payments. Second, set an automatic savings flow that does not rely on willpower. Third, grow the gap by trimming fixed costs and lifting income. Let us walk a quick no-drama example. Take that household with $5,000 take-home and $4,690 of typical costs. The initial gap is $310. At that pace, $20,000 takes about 65 months, which is too long. Now apply a few specific moves. Renegotiate auto and renter's insurance down $40. Switch phone plans and save $30. Cut one streaming bundle and reduce dining by $100 without going monastic. Say yes to 2 overtime shifts or a small gig that nets $200 a month. The gap jumps from $310 to $680. Automate $650 the day income arrives into a high-yield savings account, then pretend it never existed. At $650 per month, $20,000 takes roughly 31 months, less if tax refunds or bonuses are captured. One mid-year windfall of $1,200 knocks off almost 2 months. This is the engine. A budget rule like 50-30-20 can help as a guide. That rule means 50% to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to save. Automation is the quiet superpower here, because money that skips the checking account never tests discipline. A quick definition break. A high-yield savings account is a bank account that pays higher interest than a standard savings account while keeping cash accessible. Today, that can be 4% or more, which helps the balance keep pace with inflation. The point is not to win the savings rate Olympics. The point is to build a cushion quickly and consistently so the rest of the plan can work with less friction. Crossing $20,000 feels different because the calendar changes. Time becomes an ally instead of an enemy. If essentials are $3,500 a month, a $20,000 cushion covers about 6 months. If essentials are $4,000, call it 5 months. That timeline transforms decisions. A job loss becomes a 12 to 20-week search for a better landing, not a 2-week scramble into the first thing that calls back. A rent increase is a negotiation backed by alternatives, not a forced move. Having a plan helps you find the best outcome. A market dip is an opportunity to keep investing instead of a reason to sell. The psychological shift is just as big. Anxiety drops when the budget is not a tightrope. Negotiation power rises because it is easier to walk away. A smaller side, saying no, gets addictive in the best way. The next step after hitting the milestone is to separate the cash into rolls. Keep 3 to 6 months of essentials and high-yield savings as the true emergency reserve.
Park the rest of the $20,000 in the next best use, based on priorities.
If high-interest debt exists above 6 to 8%, knock that down, because killing interest is a guaranteed return. If toxic debt is gone, direct contributions to tax-advantaged accounts like an IRA or workplace plan, and add a simple, low-cost investment mix. The core idea is to hold a clean emergency fund, then let the excess earn for the future. The result is compounding, taking over a job that used to belong to stress. I like roadmaps that fit on a napkin. This one does. Start with a quick spending baseline.
Count only essentials over the last 3 months and average them. That is the monthly target the emergency fund must cover.
Next, build a starter buffer fast. A starter buffer is $1,000 to $3,000 set aside to stop small shocks from becoming debt.
Use an automatic transfer the day income lands, and schedule a weekly micro-review to clear friction like lingering subscriptions or bill errors.
While building the starter buffer, tackle high-interest debt using the avalanche method.
Avalanche means pay the highest interest rate first while paying minimums on the rest, because interest is the real opponent.
Snowball, which focuses on the smallest balance first, can build momentum, but it is often more expensive. Choose momentum if behavior needs a win. Choose avalanche if math wins the day. Shift to the full $20,000 target once any double-digit debt is gone. Keep the automatic savings flow steady and reroute every windfall to the target.
Windfalls are tax refunds, bonuses, side income spikes, or gifts, and they move the timeline more than a dozen tiny cuts.
Park the growing fund in a high-yield savings account. If it pays 4.5%, then $20,000 earns about $900 in a year before. Predictable, boring, and available is the goal. If income varies by season, protect the plan by saving a set percentage when cash is strong and pulling back during slow months. That keeps the habit alive. If fixed costs are stiff, look for 1 or 2 chunky reductions instead of 20 tiny ones. A downshift in rent, a refinance, a roommate, or a job commute change can dwarf latte math. All along, avoid treating the fund as permission to shop. That is the hedonic trap. The new baseline is peace, not new gear. Once the true emergency reserve is in place, growth is about simple vehicles used consistently.
Here are the building blocks in plain language. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account where contributions are with after-tax dollars.
A traditional IRA gives a tax deduction now and taxes withdrawals later. Employer plans like a 401k or 403b can include a match, which is free money with a vesting schedule. An index fund is a basket that tracks a market, like the total US stock market.
An ETF is an exchange-traded fund that trades like a stock, but can hold thousands of companies.
Fees matter because a 1% fee can eat a third of returns over decades. For most people, a low-cost index mix is the right foundation. A simple allocation might be 80% stocks and 20% bonds early on, then glide toward more bonds as stability becomes more important. Bonds are loans to governments or companies, and usually steady the ride.
Let us translate numbers into a wallet outcome. Stat: a long-term stock market return around 7% after inflation is a common planning assumption, not a guarantee.
Wallet: $10,000 growing at 7% becomes about $19,700 in 10 years and about $38,700 in 20 years. If $10,000 sits in cash at 0.5%, while inflation runs at 3%, purchasing power quickly shrinks. Risk is the price of returns, not a bug in the system.
The fix for risk is not clever timing. It is owning broad markets, holding for long periods, keeping costs low, and not mixing emergency cash with investments.
A quicker side to keep us honest. Markets do not care about our plans, so the plan must assume bad years and be fine anyway.
That is why the emergency fund comes first and stays sacred. It protects the portfolio from emotional decisions and protects life from market weather.
Cash on hand is not just safety, it is an opportunity engine. A solid cushion allows calculated risks that were off limits before. Certification, that $2,000, the payback time is 3 months and the return is huge. Or consider moving to a role that pays less for 6 months but jumps $15,000 in year 2. The cushion buys the runway to make that switch without panic. Small businesses are another example. A side operation that needs $1,500 for equipment and $500 for setup can repay itself if it nets $300 a month within a year. The key is to treat these moves like investments and track outcomes, not vibes. For freelancers or sales roles, the fund is also volatility insurance. If typical months bring in $6,000 but slow months drop to $3,000, a $20,000 reserve can smooth 2 slow months without debt. That prevents discounting work out of fear, which is the fastest way to train clients to expect discounts. Use a simple checklist before spending from the cushion. Is this a true emergency, a leveraged investment in future income, or a lifestyle upgrade? If it is an investment, estimate the payback period and the most likely outcome. If the worst case fails gracefully without debt, the move is usually fine. If the worst case drags the balance under the emergency threshold, pass or scale it down. A smaller side here. Saying no to a flashy opportunity is easier when something better is already in motion. But the point of the $20,000 rule is not to hoard cash forever. It is to hold enough to stay safe. Income is a headline. Purchasing power is the story. Let us run a clean comparison to show why the 20,000 odd number bends. Stat: 100,000 to salary after taxes can net roughly wallet. That is about $5,200 to $6,000 per month hitting the account. Local. In New York City, a median 1-bedroom rent might sit near $3,200, while in Dallas, a comparable place could be around $1,800. Layer the rest of the stack and the picture changes. In a high-cost city, after rent at $3,200, transported $150 because of transit, that leaves $180 to $980 depending on the exact take-home and the months of coverage from $20,000 land near $4. In Dallas, with rent at $1,800, car insurance and gas making transport $350, grocer is at $500 and internet. Now the monthly gap can be over $1,000. And the same $20,000 covers about 5 to 6 months. The lesson is not to doom scroll markets or cities. It is to size the emergency fund by essentials, not by vibes or round numbers. If job security is shaky or dependents are involved, slide the target higher to 6 to 12 months. If housing is stable and income is extremely reliable, 3 to 4 months can glide. Moving zip code of money. Rules are tools, not bosses. The $20,000 rule bends for different lives, and here is how to think it through. Families with kids face